Like, guys, you don't.
Wasn't there some speculation that she was on Epstein's yacht at one point in time? How about the other
So
prince?
you got to go to again.
How about the other prince, the one that's Epstein's friend?
Oh, Andrew. Yeah, that was.
What?
Yeah.
First of all, how odd is that guy when they're interviewing him and talking to him?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
The Queen kicked him to the curb.
January 2026 felt like a closed chapter for Meghan Markle. Her earlier years were supposed to be settled, forgotten, and left behind. Online rumors that once floated around had quieted down, and her public image looked polished and secure. For a long time, that strategy seemed to work. Then, everything shifted when Joe Rogan entered the conversation, and not quietly either.
The most influential man in the world, Time magazine should have been.
No, Meghan Markle beat me.
God. How if it's most influential, there should be there's no debate. Nobody's even in the same category as you.
I don't know. I don't think about it. I try not to. It's a little complicated.
I'm thinking about it, though.
I really shouldn't be influential.
If you follow Harry and Meghan, you know all about Marcus Anderson.
The world's biggest podcaster started openly questioning parts of Meghan's past that had rarely been discussed on a major platform. He wasn't presenting accusations as facts, but he was raising questions many people claimed had been circulating online for years. What made this moment explode was Joe Rogan himself. He's known for pushing conversations that others avoid. He doesn't answer to royal tradition, celebrity culture, or corporate pressure.
Let's get started. So the Daily Mail Plus released this article, Why Meghan Markle's best friend, who set her up with Prince Harry, has vanished. Whatever happened to Meghan's best friend Marcus Anderson? The tall, handsome Canadian was third wheel in the early days of her romance with Prince Harry, and he was front and center at their 2018 wedding.
And you can imagine, since we first revealed this video on last night's show, the reaction around the world has been extraordinary. Piers Morgan posted on X.
When something feels off to him, he talks about it, plain and simple, to an audience counted in the hundreds of millions. So when Rogan began discussing online speculation involving luxury social scenes, elite connections, and figures tied to public controversy, Meghan's team reportedly reacted fast. Legal advisors and public relations professionals were said to be working overtime, trying to control the narrative before it spiraled further. And this is where the stakes rise. Joe Rogan isn't traditional media. He can't be edited, redirected, or easily shut down. That makes any public questioning on his platform far more intense for someone whose image depends on careful storytelling. Joe had commented on Meghan before, and those remarks were already controversial. In earlier episodes, he criticized celebrity branding culture and questioned how fame reshapes public identity. Those moments resurfaced quickly once his newer discussions began trending again. The concern wasn't just what he said, it was who was listening. With a reach that rivals major news networks, even casual commentary can reshape public opinion overnight. Once speculation hits that scale, it becomes a global conversation, not fringe gossip.
When the song come on, let me see you get gone. Baby mama, this shot song been pregnant for way too long. I tell the DJ turn it off.
If she a baby mama,
Go ahead.
she gon' do that baby mama.
Work.
She gon' put it on you. She gon' do that baby mama.
A lot of the things he says in Spare about this, well, we want that story to die, so we're going to give you this story. However, he does it today. Him and Meghan do the same thing today. I've seen that Meghan and Harry tried to discredit certain media outlets because they don't like what they're going to say.
Now here's where background research entered the picture. Some online discussions referenced work by author Kirby Summers, who previously explored elite social networks while researching an unauthorized biography connected to Ghislaine Maxwell. In that process, Summers claimed to have uncovered patterns and associations involving multiple public figures. Importantly, these claims remain unverified and disputed, but they've circulated online for years without mainstream amplification. That's what changed. When someone with Rogan's reach mentions them, even cautiously, the conversation multiplies instantly. There were also renewed mentions of high-profile luxury events, like Yacht Week in Croatia, which has been openly described by lifestyle magazines as a wild, adult party environment. Articles from outlets like GQ framed it as an intense social scene, attracting wealthy attendees and influencers alike. None of this proves wrongdoing, but it highlights why the discussion itself became such a flashpoint. When powerful platforms revisit unresolved questions, public figures lose control of the storyline fast. And that's the real tension here. Not proof, not verdicts, but visibility. Once the internet starts connecting dots again, the conversation doesn't stop easily, and reputations feel the heat immediately. Did Meghan attend those events? No one can say for sure. What is known is that invitations and social connections have been discussed publicly for years, and that's exactly what Joe Rogan has been questioning on his podcast. He's not presenting conclusions, he's pointing out gaps, patterns, and unanswered questions that others avoided. Here's why Rogan's involvement hit differently.
So is this preemptive announcement about Harry's security just more of the same, or is there more to it? Now, initially, I caught the first announcement on it. Then the very first announcement of it was LBC UK. And I sort of thought, yeah, typical Harry and Meghan, here we go, preemptive announcements.
I don't think that she'll ever let Harry go, because she is so fixated on having a title that she doesn't even have or deserve anymore, right? Yeah. Technically, she's not part of the royal family. On paper, on the website, Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
When tabloids mention luxury party rumors, most people brush it off as gossip. When royal commentators speculate, audiences debate it and move on. But when Joe Rogan raises questions on the largest podcast platform in the world, reaching hundreds of millions of listeners, the impact multiplies instantly. Joe's influence comes from one key factor. He's independent. He's already weathered major platform controversies, intense criticism, and pressure from powerful institutions. Time and time again, he's shown he won't back down just because a topic makes elites uncomfortable. So when Rogan asks, why aren't these connections being examined? Or why does mainstream media avoid this topic? People lean in. His audience doesn't just listen, they investigate, discuss, and amplify. And that kind of attention can shake even the most carefully managed public image. According to multiple reports, this is why Meghan's team allegedly became concerned when Rogan started discussing these topics. Traditional methods of controlling narratives don't work here. You can push back against tabloids, manage access, or issue legal warnings, but you can't silence an open-ended conversation on a massive independent platform. Now let's talk about why the Marcus Anderson angle keeps coming up. This part matters because it's grounded in documented professional relationships. Anderson is a senior figure at Soho House and is widely acknowledged as the person who introduced Meghan to Prince Harry. That part isn't disputed. What Rogan has questioned is the context. How did those introductions happen? What professional and social circles existed beforehand? Why was Anderson confident in making that connection? These are questions, not accusations, and they fueled ongoing debate online. Author Kirby Summers has suggested that Soho House functions as more than a private club. It's often described as a networking hub, where ambitious individuals gain access to influential circles. That doesn't imply wrongdoing. It explains why connections formed there attract attention later.
Prince Harry wanted to make amends and come meet My dad. Wow, that's just crazy. I'll tell you right now, Prince Harry, if it has to do with anything with the Netflix crew and cameras, don't even bother. My dad's had enough crap.
I got approached by a guy named Jeff Rayner, who spoke to me and said, I can change your image, he said. The idea was that these would all be candid shots, discreet, no one would know they were posed or anything. It would be just me doing my routine daily. I was feeling that this was very hokey and ham.
Summers has also claimed that Anderson's professional role involved facilitating introductions among wealthy and powerful figures over many years. Again, these claims remain unverified, but Rogan's point is about transparency. If elite networks shape public narratives, why are they never examined openly? Then there's the long-discussed issue of alleged photographs. Summers has claimed that certain images from the early 2000s may exist, but have never been published. Importantly, fact-checkers have shown that some images circulating online were misidentified and did not depict Meghan. Summers maintains she's referring to different unpublished material, claims that remain unproven and contested. Rogan hasn't stated these images exist. He's questioned why such claims have never been independently investigated, and that's the real friction point. Not evidence, not verdicts, but unanswered questions. Rogan continues asking why certain figures face intense scrutiny while others are shielded from the same level of examination. That's why this situation feels impossible for Meghan's team to manage. There's no clear opponent, no headline to refute, no single claim to shut down. Just a massive audience watching an ongoing conversation unfold in real time. Meghan can rely on palace lawyers when it comes to British tabloids. That system is familiar territory, but Joe Rogan is a completely different problem. He operates in the U.S., outside royal influence, backed by massive contracts and a global audience that can't be ignored. Joe doesn't answer to palace protocol or media pressure. Any attempt to silence him would likely explode in the opposite direction, reinforcing his argument that powerful people try to suppress uncomfortable conversations. That's why the usual strategy, legal threats, quiet negotiations, reputation management, doesn't work here. For years, controlling the narrative meant shaping headlines and limiting access.
Married Princess Diana, who was probably more of an aristocrat, more blue-blooded than he was, apparently.
How is that possible?
I think her family was more English, more going back generations. Fergie, she came after Princess Diana.
So was she famous beforehand? I know like Meghan Markle was an actor.
No.
But you can't out-PR someone who speaks freely to hundreds of millions of listeners. And you can't intimidate someone who already survived public controversies and came out stronger. So what's left? Silence. And that's where the real problem starts. Staying quiet while Joe keeps raising questions means only one version of the story circulates. To many listeners, silence doesn't look neutral. It looks defensive. Reports suggest Meghan's team felt boxed in by this situation. Responding risks amplifying the story. Ignoring it allows speculation to spread unchecked. That's a no-win scenario, and Joe understands that dynamic perfectly. That's why he keeps revisiting the topic and asking the same unanswered questions. Now shift the focus to Harry, because this is where the pressure intensifies. Rogan has already mocked Harry publicly and questioned the power dynamics in his relationship. Those comments alone stirred debate, but broader speculation would take things to another level entirely. If online narratives linking past elite social circles gain wider acceptance, Harry's image takes a hit, not because of proof, but because perception shapes public opinion fast. Suddenly, the story shifts from a fairy tale romance to a relationship people start re-examining through a strategic lens. Imagine being caught in that storm. You can't easily defend against speculation without concrete evidence. You can't disprove rumors rooted in decades-old social connections. and every attempt to explain risks reopening the conversation even wider.
It's Andrew, now just Andrew. There's no coming back for him, is there? I mean, you detail a lot of it in the book. There's a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware of, but he can't come back now, surely.
Some commentators suggest this kind of pressure forces Harry to reflect on warnings he may have heard early on. That doesn't mean those warnings were correct, but it explains why the narrative feels destabilizing. Once doubt enters the picture, public framing changes fast. That's the version of events Joe is questioning for his massive audience, not declaring facts, but reframing how people look at the story. And once that reframing sticks, it's incredibly hard to reverse. Now here's why Joe's focus on exclusive social clubs matters. This is the part mainstream media rarely explores. These spaces operate privately by design. No cameras, no public records, no transparency. That secrecy fuels speculation whether it's justified or not. Some high-profile members linked to controversy have been associated with such clubs over the years. None of that proves wrongdoing, but it explains why these environments attract scrutiny when public figures rise to global prominence. That's the tension driving this entire conversation. Not proof, not verdicts, but unanswered questions echoing louder the longer they go unaddressed. So when Joe Rogan starts questioning what really happened inside those private Soho House spaces, things get uncomfortable fast. When he asks what kind of networking Meghan was involved in, or suggests that Marcus Anderson's role was to introduce ambitious people to powerful circles, Soho House faces a serious dilemma. They can't simply deny it. Facilitating connections is literally their business model. Saying that never happens would contradict everything the brand stands for. But responding at all risks, drawing attention to how those exclusive networks actually operate. And they can't publicly investigate Anderson either. He's been part of the organization for decades and is widely credited with building its elite membership culture. Joe's questions corner Soho House into silence, and that silence fuels even more speculation. That's exactly the outcome Rogan seems to want. He's not making claims. He's forcing people to ask uncomfortable questions. Who met whom in those private rooms? How were introductions made? What kind of access was exchanged behind closed doors? Because once those questions start circulating, Meghan's carefully crafted origin story starts to wobble. Here's the harsh reality. Rumors about her early social circles have existed online for years, but they stayed buried in fringe discussions and were dismissed as internet noise. That changed the moment Joe Rogan brought them up. Suddenly, those theories weren't living in obscure forums. They were being discussed on the largest podcast platform on Earth. When someone with that reach raises questions, dismissal becomes impossible. Joe hasn't dropped this topic either. Over the years, he's repeatedly questioned Meghan's motives and public persona, often suggesting there's more beneath the surface. These newer discussions fit seamlessly into a narrative he's already explored. And here's why Meghan's situation becomes nearly impossible. Staying silent makes her look like she's avoiding the conversation.
It was given to me and I got it in the car and then returned it straight away.
Once the scandal broke?
As soon as I knew it was a scandal, not once it broke, Michael. But don't try and trick me now, because I'm not going to play this game. Delete that bit. John, can you just delete it, please, that bit? Because I don't want to go down this.
Responding gives the story more oxygen. Either way, Joe can keep asking follow-up questions that don't require him to make accusations at all. That's the trap. And Joe knows exactly what he's doing. He's not saying, "This is what happened." He's saying, "Why won't anyone explain this?" And that distinction makes all the difference. Let's look at the specific questions that keep coming up, because these are the ones commentators say Meghan's team struggles to address. Why was she invited to Yacht Week in 2016 if she wasn't connected to those circles? Why did Marcus Anderson have such deep involvement in her social life? How did a cable TV actress afford a lifestyle filled with elite travel and exclusive events? Why was she consistently present at gatherings with billionaires and influential power brokers? What was the nature of her relationship with Ron Burkle? Did she have any connection to Prince Andrew before meeting Harry? These are not accusations. They are questions, but questions with no public answers tend to grow louder over time. Joe's approach is calculated. By laying out circumstances and connections without drawing conclusions, he lets the audience decide for themselves. And people who reach conclusions on their own are far more convinced than those who are told what to think. That's why this conversation keeps spreading. It's not because of proof, it's because of curiosity. Once millions of listeners start connecting dots independently, the narrative takes on a life of its own. So where does this leave Meghan? Joe Rogan isn't backing off. He has the platform, the audience, and the independence to keep asking these questions indefinitely. There's no legal lever to pull, no media outlet to pressure, no narrative control left. The discussions are now mainstream. The networking angle is being openly examined. The elite circle questions aren't going away. And once that genie is out of the bottle, there's no easy way to put it back. Whether the speculation is fair or not, the conversation itself has become unavoidable. Now, before we wrap this up, if you want deeper breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe, like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to check back for the next video, because this story is far from over.